I would like to talk about accords, Arthur.
Actually, we've got to get rid of that. It's
Okay, it's in the way, yeah.
That is
the
just...
plant's not in.
There we go.
Accords, because, you know, when I first started making some films, it was because there was an awful lot of rubbish coming out on YouTube about how to make...
Yeah.
Well, there's another influx. There's a whole new stash of misleading stuff, and a lot of it seems to be around accords. Do you know what an accord is in perfumery?
Yeah, it's a mixture of materials to make a chord.
Basically, yes. Several notes to make
Several
a chord.
notes to make one addition.
Yeah, it's so French. Do you know what an accord
Yeah,
is
it's
in
like
French?
where the same root of where the word chord comes from in music.
Yeah, it's an agreement. You know?
An agreement, yeah.
So if something like the I can't remember the name of the accord. It's not an entente cordiale. That's different, but cordiality, same thing.
Yeah, right.
But it's, if I were to say, you said something to me like, so I'll be back next Wednesday, and I'll say d'accord.
Oh yeah.
Meaning, I agree with you. Yes, great. She's like, righto. It's the French for righto. Is d'accord. We are in agreement. We agree. I'm getting excited about this now. Even in the Parisian, they can't be bothered to get to the end of the word, so they say d'accord, which is short for d'accord, meaning I agree.
Yeah.
We are all together on this. Let's go. So an accord in perfumery can be several notes put together to make like one thing. All the definitions I've seen recently, an accord is two materials mixed together.
Can be.
Can be a lot more than that. Why would you make an accord? Do you know?
Well, you know how, like, if you're making a curry,
Yeah.
you'd sort of make the curry paste. You'd mix all your spices together to make the curry paste, but you'd also then simmer down your onions and your garlic separately, and then you'd you sort of prepare your ingredients and create bundles, and then you use varying amounts of those bundles in the whole to create a whole. That's a very bad way of explaining it.
But no, it would be, because that would be making different accords that you could then use at different strengths according to what you want to put them with.
Yeah.
According to, there's going to end up just having chord all the way through. But since you raise that particular analogy, I would say you could also buy a pot of curry paste.
Yeah.
Which is another thing that happens in perfumery.
You can buy accords.
You can buy a... we'll smell some stuff.
And is it right in saying that accords tend to sort of keep their integrity when mixed with other things?
That's, at that point, they deserve the name base.
Oh, that's when they're a base. Okay.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So I have here one, which is the Sandalwood J, which is made by Givaudan, which is a base. The Givauds are Givaudan's bases. So what's great about this is it is a blend of materials which will still smell like sandalwood even if you mix them with something else. Because you can make yourself a nice little a citrus accord and use 7 different citrus materials, naturals or synthetics, and make something that smells like a citrus fruit which hasn't grown yet. But you might add one more thing to it and it tips the balance completely and it ends up smelling like melon or something. So you might make your nice balance, your accord, but it might not keep its integrity when you put it into something else.
Okay.
And this is
so good.
This is great, isn't it?
It's so good.
It smells like sandalwood.
But like, it smells like sandalwood.
But do you think it doesn't? Okay, so I've got a few different things here. So I'll test you. Because the reason I got the sandalwood things out was because somebody wrote yesterday in our Scenthusiasm Facebook group, which may or may not survive, but and she listed that she had a lot of sandalwood materials and was a bit baffled as where to start making her sandalwood accord.
Mm.
And of course, what usually happens if you put something like this in a perfume forum or group is that everybody piles in with all their ideas of how they would make a sandalwood accord.
Mm.
And what I tend to say is, why are you making a sandalwood accord?
Mm-hmm.
Do you need to? Because, do you know what this is?
No.
Sandalwood.
Right, yeah.
So this
This
is
natural sandalwood.
this is natural Indian sandalwood.
See, after the that's a base, is it? The other one.
The first one is the
Yeah.
base, the Givaudan.
After the base, I can't really smell it that much.
No, it is actually not as powerful or intense
Mm-hmm.
as the Givaudan. I'm using a different fountain pen this week because we might have got bored with the other one. So, here's the thing. In perfumery, when you go to perfume school and you learn your skills, one of them is making accords. It's fundamental. You get to do that in year number 2. And you learn the component parts of different materials, and then you learn how to construct one. Well, you'd practice on things like rose and jasmine and bergamot even. Sandalwood.
Phone's on loud. That's never
Someone's
happened.
after you. So why at perfume school is it so important to learn to make accords, do you think? It's basically to save money. Because you learn skills at perfume school, and I'm absolutely not dissing perfume school, right?
Mm-hmm.
But as Monsieur Yves Tanguy, master perfumer, said when I was visiting the Osmothèque next door to Isipka, he said that, to prove yourself as a perfumer, you have to be able to make accords which are as wonderful and powerful and long-lasting and beautiful as the original raw materials that you're copying. And then quietly in French muttered to himself, unless you've got the money for the natural.
Yeah.
So this is why if you can get hold of some Indian sandalwood, you might make a sandalwood accord which lasts longer, is more powerful, if that's what you need. But you can use sandalwood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, in the sort of 1950s, 1920s through to 1970s books that I have, they would teach you how to make accords, which would be to take the original natural and then build outwards, extend it. It's called extending.
So, yeah, this was going to be my next question.
Yeah.
So, an accord isn't always a copy of a natural.
No, because you could, for example, make a mango accord, because currently we can't get the raw material from the mango.
But you've got a clouds accord.
Yeah, I have. I have several. I've got.
So, what I mean is an accord can be of an abstract thing.
You can also do that, but classically, if you go into classical industrial perfume, you're going to get trained for that. You are going to learn how to make something that smells like a natural.
Okay.
Because
right.
then you can decide, right, I'm going to make one that smells like that lovely red cactus flower that doesn't actually have a smell. But if it did, I would decide it would smell like that. So you have the skills to produce what's in your imagination.
See, that's really exciting. That.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I misunderstood that. I didn't think that was sort of where accords came from. I thought they were just sort of little troops of ingredients.
I think lots of people don't know that it's just French for an agreement.
Yeah.
It's anybody can make an accord. An accord should be an agreement. So if you put two things together and it smells horrible, unless you're actually trying to make a horrid accord, that's fine. But the idea is to create when you practice your skills to get something identical to or better than the original.
Right, yeah.
So, I mean, if somebody wanted to copy Sexiest Scent on the Planet, say, very easy, 1 natural, 3 synthetics. But if they wanted to bring the cost down, they wouldn't use real bergamot. They'd create their own bergamot cord.
And you'd probably end up with more than 4 ingredients.
Yeah, well, more than 4 ingredients, and it would probably smell as close enough. Nobody would really mind. So, and that, of course, is the reason why when people look at GCMS reports, analysis of expensive perfumes, they have a list as long as your arm of materials in them, because one of the naturals might be composed of
300.
Yeah, and so the ones that actually show up as, you know, that have an aroma, you might use the top 10 of it in order to make a rose.
Right.
So this one, again, we're just staying in the sandalwood arena today for this purpose.
After the Jivco, again, it's difficult for me to smell.
Yeah, the Jivco's winning, and in classes here, you know, if I pass around the natural sandalwood and then something like Sandalwood, which is a single molecule that smells sandalwoody, people will choose, if they're new to the game, they will choose the Sandalwood. Because that smells like all the sandalwood candles they've smelt, or the sandalwood fragrances, things that are named sandalwood. But, so this one is Dreamwood base. Dreamwood is a captive. We should probably even make a separate film on why captives are captive. But a captive essentially is a material which belongs to the people who made it, and they don't sell it to anyone else. They make perfumes with it, but they won't let it out. So Dreamwood base, you can get the captive Dreamwood itself, which is not made out of a wood, it's a molecule, but mixed with some other things, so we're allowed to use it.
Right. Okay, so it's Dreamwood with some other things.
Yes, Dreamwood with other things. So this is Dreamwood base, which to me it smells like sandalwood. You know, enough.
Yeah, it does.
That's what it's for. So if somebody comes to me and says, I've got this, and this, where do I start with my sandalwood accord? My question is really, why do you need to make an accord? What's it going in? Why not just use Dreamwood? If it's, you know, the shortest possible, as Calkin and Jelinek say, and other people too, but the only add more materials if you absolutely have to. So take the shortest route to where you're going. If you want something that smells like sandalwood, if you've got the money, use sandalwood. If that doesn't get you where you want to go because you need it to smell stronger than that, you could use Sandalwood Jivco. Or you could add materials to boost it. And then you might extend your sandalwood, do the extension, the old school accord, start with the natural and extend it outwards to make it have the properties that you want. But there is a story from Isipka about making sandalwood bases when... So Isipka is the school, the good perfumery school that our friend Alex is at the moment in Versailles. And Jean-Paul Guerlain came to visit, and everybody's like... And they were all making sandalwood accords. But he came round and he smelt, and he'd said to one student, "That is a magnificent vetiver." So they all just kept quiet and said, "Merci beaucoup, Monsieur Guerlain." Because no one is going to turn around and say, "Actually, I was aiming for a sandalwood," but, you know. But they said, right, okay, fine, I'm going to take that, and that's just going to be from now on.
That's my vetiver.
That is my magnificent vetiver. So, if you haven't got the naturals, or they cost too much, and the budget won't allow, you make an accord. It might be with sandalwood and one more thing. I make a sandalwood accord with Amiris, which is natural, smells a lot like it, but it is quite quiet, and sandalwood. But 2 materials is fine. I might add Dreamwood base if I wanted a bit more smooth. But you can have an accord of 2, up to as many as it takes in order to get what it is that you need. But the shortest possible route to get there, I'd say. something like the Givcos might contain captives. You can't buy them by themselves from Givaudan. You either have to have them.
That's amazing, that Givco.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. They're dead good at this. I think. Yeah. I mean, they've got hundreds of perfumers who are all really great at what they do.
Mm-hmm.
And if somebody gives them a job, right, we want a new base and we want it to smell just like that, but we want it to last longer and have more diffusiveness, go. Do I make my own? No. I say thank you very much for doing that. I shall buy yours. So yeah, it's. I'll tell you. Okay, just to wrap up our story, because I used to copyright for a living. I was a copywriter, and I used to do training courses, and chap turned up once, and the big thing at the time was storytelling. You know, we used to have meetings in a building belonging to a company called the Storytellers, even. So, you know, what was all that about? It was quite new that instead of just writing about the product, you'd write about the company who made it. You'd actually tell the truth most of the time, but the about us bit that you get on a website, you would never see in the company brochure. There'd be nothing, and suddenly it's like, well, we're going to tell you a bit about ourselves and how we got here and why we're doing this and it's normal now.
Yeah.
But this chap turned up and he said, I want to learn about storytelling. Now, how do I do that? I said, well, you take some words and put them in right. You write what happened. You just write it down. You write the story. And he's like, is that all? I'm like, yeah, that is literally it. Just get your pen out, write down. What story do you need to write? Well, I need to write this about this client. Like, well, just write it. I said, oh. And he thought it was going to be some magic, amazing thing that there was secret that was going to transform the way that he wrote. And it's like, no, it's literally what it says. Yeah. It is telling the story. It's storytelling. Just write the story. It's not storytelling like kids that don't tell me stories. Not lying. It is just saying what's true, how you got here, why you did this, what's it for. And he's so disappointed. And I'm getting the same feeling about, well, you tell me how to make an accord. I need to know how to make an accord. It's like, well, you take that, and you mix it until it's nice.
Yeah.
And if it's not quite getting what you need to go, you take that as well and you mix that. Is that good? Okay. You've got an accord. Off you go.
Mm.
That's it, really.
So in your Tempest Rose fragrance is made of several accords, right?
It is, but that's even... I made each of those three satin and... which is the rosy floral centre of it, and the sparkles bit, which is more citrusy and aldehydic and light, and skin, which is honeybush, helichrysum, and lots of musks. But I made them as complete perfumes.
Right.
They're big accords. So each one of them is wearable on its own, because each one of them has a little bit of isoe super heavy and some musks in it, and then you put them together, and the big stuff still sits at the base and keeps it all going. The sparkles part is more emergent at the beginning, emerges more at the beginning, and then the roses and the violets and a bit of jasmine sit in the centre. So yeah, that's those are seriously big accords which are in fact wearable. I mean, somebody described Sexy Santon Planet once as like, oh, it's not really perfume, it's just an accord. Like, well, I bottle it and sell it, so it's also a perfume. But yeah, it's customizable. So yeah. But so an accord can be, you can wear an accord as long as it's legal. Yeah.
Well, I mean, molecule number 1 isn't a perfume; it's just an ingredient.
Exactly. And yet there it is, the best-selling niche fragrance in the UK.
Yeah. Okay.
Is that clear? I hope that's clear.
Yeah, I think that's clear.
And the accord is whatever you want it to be, as long as there's more than one.
It's an agreement.